All right, that's up. And then I gotta check this and hit this.
Range. Dude, I got crayons.
Oh, he got. Welcome to the Everyday Sniper. You got Frank from Sniper's Hide, and Chris from Riflecraft is here. And we're doing all our usual things, the lives and the this and the that. Hey, Andrew G's already on. What's up, Andrew?
Yes, Andrew is always on.
Yeah, he's always on. Andrew's
Keep
there
it up.
every time. We're good, man. We're all up and going. Created on the Hide, created there, created there. I changed my setup up a little bit. Like you could see my light and stuff behind me is a little bit different. Bobby from Chicago. I like Bobby from Chicago. I feel I met Bobby before. I don't know if I did or not. Your name looks familiar. Uh-oh, Chris
My dishwasher flooded.
Uh-oh, you have an echo, Chris.
So it's
they're saying you have an echo. Restart your computer and just pop in.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Chris has the echo, but I redid my look. So I changed my lights because I had them backwards, and then I redid the room while Chris is there. He is. There you go. See, you got to talk, Chris. No, you can't.
I'm afraid.
Is he echoing? I can't hear an echo. You have to tell me.
An echo?
Yes. Is there an echo, Andrew?
These are the good earbuds.
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, but it's just I think it's like your order of operation sometimes. And it's nope, you're good. As long you should be good.
Right.
Yeah, you should be good. So yeah, I changed my lights up and I changed the room up because when I spilled all. Oh, he still has an echo. You still do. What I would do, Chris, is I would reconnect your ears because it's how your ears connect. Yeah. So yeah, he still has an echo. So yeah, take a look, guys, at my it's sort of Chris's thing, but yeah, I changed it up and I gave me a little bit different light, so I look a little bit different. Although my glasses, these glasses are broken. They're supposed to be like these stupid, like they're high dollar, but the carbon fiber broke and now they don't sit normal for me. And any pressure on them, and then I can't see out of them. They drive me absolutely bonkers. I need to change my other ones because they drive me completely bonkers. And then, yeah, so I changed up my system because when I spilled all that coffee the other day, I ended up cleaning everything and taking apart the desk and moving things around to give me, because I was jammed into one corner of the desk instead of in the middle to try to get the camera right and all that. Here he comes.
Okay, and now the test.
You sound good to me. I don't know. You sound awesome. So we'll have to see what he says.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it is. I know the logos are cut off and stuff, but how does Chris sound? Like, because
I have an echo.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm gonna do this. Cancellation. It wasn't somehow the button wasn't crossed on mine. So let me double check. Oh, it was probably. Is he do it again now? I just hit echo cancellation.
Yeah, okay.
Is he echoing
cancellation?
Still?
Post echo cancellation.
There was an update, so it took my echo. Hey, James. We're trying to damage control Chris because he's echoing. How does he sound, Andrew? Anybody? Is he echoing still? James, Andrew, anybody? Is he echoing?
1, 2.
You do sound like you're echoing, though. You sound weird. You sound weird to me, but I can't tell because here they go.
Sounds better.
Echo. Nope, there you go. No echo. He sounds better. Sounds better. You're good now. So we're just good.
Ooh.
Yeah, sorry. It's these like no two times are the same. Hey, James, how you been? I just talked to Jacob today. I dropped Lindy was here. picked up a 4 rifles for a class they're doing in Colorado. So I saw Lindy today, and then Jacob called me. So howdy, James. James and I used to work together until he went off and did fun things, and then I was stuck doing normal stuff. I had to fill in the gaps, but yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I
Action
changed.
aliens.
Oh, it's interdimensional aliens. The lady came on Joe Rogan today, and she said that she was the rep, that Luna, the kind of cute one. There's two, but she's one of the cute ones. She's the younger cute one, not the older cute one. Um she said they're interdimensional creatures, and that reason why they don't tell us is cuz we can't fathom um the shift or whatever. But they're interdimensional. They're not aliens anymore. And so we got to go interdimensional. And you know what? I saw another thing too. They said they're like 1 second out of time with us. So I saw somebody say that the reason we don't see anything is they're like out of phase. But the Israeli guy who's at Harvard, he's the one that's saying the aliens are coming in space and they'll be here in November. The 7 mile long spaceship, that's that AV Loeb guy. He's saying the
Yeah.
aliens, they're on their way. So
Which makes sense because my echo is about a second off, and you had to adjust for that.
exactly. That's why I said Chris and Frank are battling interdimensional creatures today, and you were out of phase with us. So
Hmm.
that makes perfect sense. But we didn't really get a chance because Mark had jumped in to talk your finale and sort of what you had going on in the NRL finale last weekend. Um, and then what I would start with, because I know we were playing around a little bit prior, but where did you end up settling with your rifle that you used? And because you ended up finishing third with Dorgan, you got beat by Matt
Hmm.
Alwine. Um, and
No, because he was solo.
yeah, he's solo. He won the overall. And you guys, who was your team keep?
I think my teammate was Dorgan. I didn't add up the points, but I was first shooter. So if I add up my score, it should be the same as individual first shooters to see how I would have scored as a solo shooter since I was the first guy to shoot
Yeah,
everything. So
yeah.
it's
I know they do
that's kind of
teams and
fun.
individual. What which is, you know what, the team individual, because we do that when I was doing the matches in Colville, we would do that. We would do if you came up as a team, you just had 5 minutes. If you came up as an individual, you had the 3 minutes or whatever it was. And
Hmm.
so I like that format where you can go either or.
Hmm.
So where did you end up rifle equipment and different things before going to the series finale there, because you got a late invite because you weren't 100% NRL'd out, even though you had qualified. You
Yeah,
had a
I'm adding up my scores from
yeah,
the scorecard here.
you had a
Um,
what do you call it? A hiccup in your official status.
yes. Dang, I shot pretty good. Um, um, so I had not planned on competing widely this year, but towards the mid, I guess like months ago or something like that, I realized, shit, we're here. The court stuff was coming back. I couldn't do much else. I'm going to jump into competitions. So I did a competition with Dorgan in Texas, and we won that. And I thought, oh, well, then we're going to qualify for the finale. And I messaged Travis, and Travis said, no, you're not a member. Dorgan is. He could go, but you can't go. And I thought, oh, shit. Can I register now? And he said, yeah, but you still have to win a match. Fuck. So we went to New Mexico and we got third, um, but we qualified. And then, and I registered as a member on the way there. So we qualified with that one match, and then we went to the finale. The finale, I had shot my AI up till then, but I've been using that rifle and barrel for 3 or 4 years. So it has a lot of rounds on it. All the 100 grain stuff that we did and the rounds that I've shot over the last few years through the divorce and stuff have been largely on that barrel. So I was a little concerned about when it was gonna crap out, and it's showing no signs of crapping out. And simultaneously, we're getting ready for next year. So we have the 25 Creedmoor, and next
Hmm.
year I want to shoot all the divisions. So I'm going to shoot factory, light, heavy, team.
Hmm.
And so factory, light, heavy, team for NRL Hunter, and I had the rifle put together for light, and we were doing the 25 stuff, but the week going, I mean, it's been really unusually crazy the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the way that I've been reconfiguring things, when I went to weigh the AI, it was 16.1 ounces. And I couldn't figure out what it was that needed to be swapped and reconfigured. And I was giving Dorgan my rifle that day to drive down because we had to fly because I needed to have the kids back Monday morning. And he didn't get back till Monday at 7 p.m. So, like, driving back wasn't an option for me. So we booked plane flights. I gave him my rifle. And I thought, there's nothing I can do. He's driving. I gave him my light rifle and a case of ammo, and he drove down to Raton and shot it at 800 yards and 600 yards. It was zeroed. Uh, and then I ran up gravity ballistics, and that's how we rocked into the finale.
That's funny. Yeah, speaking of the
And
20, we should bring that magnesium chassis out when we do get 2 minutes to chill and swap it so we can work that 25 Creedmoor in a lighter chassis versus my heavy vision cuz I'm like right at the 16 and putting it in your XLR magnesium will take it way down cuz I have a weight in my vision as well, so we need to do that.
I'm adding up
Your
the
scores.
scores. They dropped a stage that we did good on. It was a mover that ended up breaking. Not everybody shot it. So I got to remember to skip that. 7 plus 6 plus 8. So I shot 128 points. All right, now let me load up that new the new match program thing is actually pretty cool because you can watch it live, the impact scoring.
Oh, that
Um,
they switched from practice score to that new one. Isn't that the one the Europeaners use?
the impact scoring is pretty cool because you can literally just yeah, you can literally just let's see what uh okay, Matt Alwine won with 131. He still beat me. I got 128. And
Ah,
I would have got third.
you would have got second or
Let's see.
third.
I tied with Surge. Surge has that 128 points. So whatever Surge got.
Okay, so there you
Uh,
go.
but it would have been a light rifle. Matt Allwine was heavy. Uh, open light, open heavy. Surge got second in open heavy. Oh, and there's two guys with 129. So 1 point behind. So I'd have got third in open light. So I would have got third either way.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Um, so let's see. So the last minute change because we were worried about, I thought, I was like, oh, we'll just take off the bipod. I'll start the stage. And then after the time starts, I'll put the bipod on, even though it puts it over weight. When you add stuff after on the clock, I didn't think it counted for the weight, but apparently you can't do that. So then we were like, oh shit, now what are we going to do? Because I thought, oh, I'll just shoot everything off the tripod, but you need a kickstand to put your rifle down. So
Yeah.
so I just brought that light rifle, and it was perfectly fine. It shot good. Um, yeah, and we shoot good as a team. We've had issues every match that can be kinked out. This one, what cost us some points, and I can't say that it cost us the win because we were 10 points behind first, and I dropped points and Dorgan dropped points. We were pretty even, but day two in the morning, uh, his pack was under his bipod leg and he grabbed his pack and it flipped his rifle over and landed on its scope. And the first stage, we shot these tiny little prairie dogs, and he was way off the prairie dogs.
Oh
And
wow. Hmm.
so he was like 5/10 left and 3/10 high once we worked it in. But he got his very last shot on the very last target, so he got 1 point. But we dialed it in. Then the next stage, I think we got 16, and the target was a little bigger, and we walked it in. But losing, I
Yeah,
think
having
that
that little
that
mess up
scared him.
messed them right, right. Having that gives it's a confidence shaker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a, oh shoot, what do I do now? Kind of
And then
deal.
I had a stage that same day, um, where I got uh, let's see, a four, um, and they were pretty narrow, but I shot over, and then I corrected down and shot under, and then I shot over, and then I shot under, and then I moved, and then I got hit. Not, I just went back to, and it was one of those like, God, what in the world just happened? Where you get, miss, and then hit. Those kind of things you can't really afford to do.
Yeah,
But
at that kind of match, finale especially, but any high level match
yeah,
because like you just said, the points you were what 4 points off of Matt or so, 128 versus 31, 5 points.
3 points.
3 points. So, like, and you would have always been third. So you were 3 points off, and there was no way for you to not be in third.
Right. In teams,
Yeah,
we were 10 points behind first in teams,
in
and those
teams,
10
but
points we could have easily made up
right,
those points
right.
because there were just some stupid mistakes. Now, we didn't make any mistakes like the mental mistakes that we had kind of ironed out, but there were those where we thought, crap, I wish we could have just started that over. Um, there were a few stages where uh, when it was over, we knew, God, that's not what we should have done.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but there were some that we were pretty psyched on. We cleaned one where everybody got up on their tripods, and of course, you think, I'm going to use tripod. Of course, I am. But we laid down, and when I put the rifle down and I got down behind it, there's a huge tree in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And but Dorgan got behind me, and he goes, scoot 4 inches to the right. I scoot 4 inches to the right, and there's a loophole through the
Oh,
tree. And I
yeah,
said,
yeah,
I'm just going to
nice.
shoot through it. And he goes, You're going to shoot through it? And the RO's like, That's baller. And
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, man, and I looked, and I kind of got out, and I looked under, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to hit anything. And I shot, and it worked. And they were like, wow, nobody did that. But
Yeah,
it was just
yeah.
through a little gap in the tree. There was just a hole, and it looked like this'll work.
Yeah, Carl Taylor would do that. You would totally be like on a tripod in this weird, shitty position, and then like 3 feet to your right on the ground, there's a hole that if you went there, you could have went through the hole and did it prone. And so the Colville, Washington match there's a lot of those hidden on the ground loopholes, and it's just that few inches, but it's so hard to see it because it's so thick, you
Right,
know?
right. And I think it was an accidental find. He just got down really low and looked and happened to see through it. And he
Mhm.
goes, oh, scoot over just a little bit, because I was getting ready to change my bipod. Louise filmed about 10 of the stages, so on my phone I have the videos which we could do edits on and reviews of stuff, but that's on it, and it's pretty funny because it just looks like I'm shooting into a tree.
Nice, nice, yeah. And that's the thing is that, like, just finding those, little wins where you can is important, to be able to say and, I mean, even when we went to Cameo and I went over to that tree, it's like the first or second stage we did, might have been the third, I don't know, but there was, like, the 2 rocks, and then there was, like, this little dead tree right between them, and you could tell everybody was all over that tree, and I threw the rifle on the tree, and it was like the 3rd shot, which, of course, the farthest shot, and as soon as I went on the tree, I went, "I shouldn't have done that," because it, and everybody else was going prone because it's the farther shot. And so I didn't
Hmm.
even think of dropping prone because it was like the standing tree was perfect for me. And when I did it, it was too small, too light, and it bounced too hard. So, like, that question of do I or don't I? you know?
Yeah, but that's interesting though, because earlier today we were talking about the fundamentals a little bit, and I remember a few months ago we were talking about how much you can learn from your sight picture alone, and the fundamentals and the sight picture alone. I think it's maybe worth talking a little bit about how important continuing to work the fundamentals can be, because as soon as you get a sight picture and you see something's not right, that should cue us like Pavlovian to say,
Yeah.
as soon as I can, I got to change my position. And I see what's wrong, and I'm going to fix it by doing this. That would be pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's what guys are asking to see the breakdown of the stages. So doing a stage breakdown like that would be pretty cool. But yes, in that's the thing is, well, it's the mental game, and more and more I think about that, and part of it is a little bit to the NASCAR side. Part of it is paying a little bit more attention to the driver development and what the drivers are doing to gain an edge, because I'm a little bit more immersed in that. And it is mental. Like I mentioned this on the podcast before, that they have drivers, like one of them is coloring before he qualifies. They're handing him coloring books and they're having them color because it's calming people down and it's changing the mental game. So there's these things you can do and that's one of the things is sight picture should trigger a mental response that immediately says this isn't right. You asked me about the new Zeiss tripod that we did the video on the hide with, and that new tripod is insanely stable. It's heavy, but it's insanely stable even with the center column. And like as soon as they showed up, and they showed up on Sunday, Laura pulled, we there was two in the box, and Laura opened one immediately and like I was outside doing something and might have been cooking. And I came in and she already had a rifle on it and she was working the tripod in the living room. And she was like, "Oh my god. Oh my god. There's no movement. There's no wobble." And it was that immediate reaction to see it had no wobble zone right out of the gate. And 11-pound tripod to that degree shouldn't have a wobble zone. And it
Mhm.
didn't. And that ball head we've shot off of is very good. And that's the kind of thing where you're looking for that movement and that should trigger an action.
Hmm. Yeah, I
So,
wrote down here like but so let me ask you, and let me ask the folks gosh, normally there's more people. They must be like spaced out or something, but it's 59 people.
mhm.
Sight picture. When you get your sight picture, fundamentally, you know, what is it that you extract, right? Like, is it information on stability? Is it information on NPA? Is it information on like what do you think of that you're getting and gaining, even if it's subconsciously from your sight picture?
Yeah, that
I
would
think
be
we get
the
a lot, but
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
what does that say? Like now when you get a sight picture, what is it that you're immediately gaining as an advantage because you're aware of it, that some people might not be thinking like, oh yeah, I see the target. I have a sight picture. But it's more than that, right? What makes it really useful is not just that you see the target, it's blank. Like what are you guys able to extract immediately from a sight picture?
Yeah, like, flash milling a target to say, "What's my win budget?" That kind of stuff. Like, I'm pumping up and then, I'm looking at the wobble on the tripod. I'm looking at the size of the plate. If I have it now, our range doesn't have downrange indicators like that. We don't have things that are gonna move around. But if you're in an area that is got a lot of trees like you were just talking about, maybe you have a down range indicator of a wind change, and you're looking at that. There's a whole host of things you can look at to say, is this right or is this wrong? Um, God, there was something. Oh, it was actually it's different, but it was actually a rear bag. So, Mark has been coming to the classes and stuff, and we were Iowa, and he brought a bunch of bags to people, and a guy was having a little bit of a problem with one of the bags, and it was like, "Let me see that bag a second." And as soon as I grabbed the rear bag, I went, "No, this isn't right. Have Mark swap this out. There's not enough fill in this one." And Mark has, since his injury, has had other people fill his bag for him randomly. And immediately he grabbed it and was like, "Yeah, this isn't right. It must have, made it through." And he took another one out. So, like, in that context, here was a guy saying, "I can't get comfortable with the rifle." I grabbed it and immediately felt the rear bag was suffering something wrong. And when I looked at it, it was an uncharacteristic mark bag. And that immediately alerted me where this doesn't feel right. And I changed it out for a different one and it solved the problem. So and that's been our complaint, that, like, with other rear bags, they machine close them. And in order to machine close a rear bag, you can't fill it because the foot has to lay flat. Where Mark hand closes his because he overfills them. And that hand closing allows him to have more fill in it, where a machine he can't get under. And so it's that little tiny variation that him and I felt that was like that was a problem to solve. And then the other problem that I believed that I didn't see in sort of a tab rear bag that I felt was one in a precision underground was it's too wide and you can't grip it correctly because, like, for me, at least my small hand, I couldn't get my hand around a precision underground the same way I got my hand around a tab or one of Mark's. And so how you were able to grab it is that feel and reaction. Now translate that feel and reaction to the rifle in your shoulder and you looking through it, right? That's
Hmm.
kind of where, my long-winded way of coming around to that. So, absolutely, I think we feel a lot more than we give positive credit to.
Oh, absolutely. And then you just brought up another thing that I've been noticing more and more lately is how people grab that rear bag.
Mhm.
I don't want to say like everybody's doing it wrong, but so many people don't understand what it is the rear bag does in the first place. And when I say, okay, grab it, like really grab it, they like put their hand up beside it, or they're like barely pinching onto it
Right.
and pushing it
Yes,
into
they
the
do some
right.
weird they do this weird hand because they
Yeah.
can't
And
get
I'm
around
like,
it.
grab it, like grab the whole thing. And they put their hand up like this. And I'm like, no, no, grab it. Like,
Well,
grab
yeah, yeah,
it.
and honestly, and because you like Andrew's talking about your video that you did the video on the game changer and moving the game changer around on every angle and how you address a game changer. Well, now because of that video in class, people absolutely bring game changers to the basic class as their rear bag. And
Mhm.
like Mark really doesn't like it, and that's where he tries to get you to not use, because we do. I mean, through your video, we've seen movement with a game changer if you don't isolate it correctly. And as part of my lessons now, I mention the game changer and say how to isolate the leg, how to put it upside down when you're prone, and if you can't wedge it because it's too big, mediums in the pint size can wedge easy. the OGs can't wedge as well. But if you put that OG upside down and then isolate the single point, you get your hand around it, you get the grip by it, you can do all those things you were just talking about because now you're managing the single point of a game changer and you're not trying to grab an edge oddly.
Hmm.
And,
What's good about and also different using Mark's bags, and it kind of breaks from the video that I made, is that his bags are sealed. And if it's dense and you have the right height one, they'll compact enough where it's as dense can be, and you can rest the rifle on it. It just kind of has to be perfect, and you can tip it a little bit to get some height, but in that window, it's you don't have to squeeze it any harder because it's maxed out
right.
stable. And so if you do it just right, you can rest the rifle on it. But otherwise, you've got to bridge and support the wobble by dampening the wobble with your hand. But if you rest the rifle on the bag, that's where everything falls apart.
Well, that's
And
where the majority of people go. Majority of
mhm.
people are using the bag to hold the rifle up and they're not bridging. And it's a weird, like, I do a demo, you do a demo, we do a demo, and we show the bridge. But and even like Vallejo, Phil, and the cadre, they bridge. Very few people do the bridge correctly like you've shown and then dampen the wobble with the bag. Instead, it's all about the rifle on the bag and not as
Mhm.
much as the rifle on the shoulder. Because then, once, especially a new shooter, once they realize we're under our eye and on the clavicle, then, they have alarm bells that start to go off. And, then it becomes oh, gee, it's on my clavicle. And it's like, yeah, it is not for all of us. You know,
Yeah.
I still
Um,
haven't. I haven't
Andrew's
broken a
saying
shoulder.
that tactical rifleman said it makes a good handle. The monopods, man, I'm not a big fan of the monopods for a couple reasons. In a tactical context, maybe you would want to have a
A
monopod,
cop,
um,
because they're
but
there all
not
day.
at a maybe not in a competition because you got to hold it in your hand and your hand's going. There's no way you're going to shoot a rifle with your hand being the support elevation and not have that human hair of movement because
Right.
when you shoot, you're going to squeeze or not squeeze, or there's
Well, you're
way
part
too
of the
many
recoil
variables.
cycle now. You're in the recoil cycle, and it's not going over. You're in. You're in it.
And
You
it's
know.
not being absorbed by, you're not recoil managing with one contact. Now it's two contacts,
Hmm.
and I think that the amount of precision you can get in a
If
precision context is going to be reduced.
Yeah, and if a cop has a forever call out, because like a cop, say it's a hostage situation, and they have him set up, and just say he's prone, he could be there for 6 hours. He could be there for 8 hours. The monopod works for those guys in a lot of ways because then they never sort of lose the height in the way the rifle is on the target, and so they can actually kind of get up, come back, get up, come back, and it sort of takes care of some of it, and then the shot isn't hypercritical for them, being the 100.
Right, right.
But the thing is, where it really gets magnified is the police departments because they
Mhm.
like to sit on that because even in their training, like even Terry Cross, they'll do the gaggle of targets where they have like I keep moving away now. So that they'll have targets like this where they're all layered in, and then they'll put like a red light or they'll designate one of them. They can sit you there all day and then have a guy walk over and then the red light goes on the target and you're supposed to shoot it. So
Yeah.
they're used to doing more laying than shooting, so the monopod saves them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're shooting a couple MOA, that amount of precision is going to be fine.
Right.
But when it starts to become one MOA, or if we're going to talk in mils, if you're aiming at something that's a mil wide and a mil tall, it's perfectly fine, and there could be advantages like you pointed out. But if you're shooting at something that's 3 or 4 tenths, I don't think you're going to have a good hit percentage with a monopod under time and stress.
It's not.
Um,
It's not as well. And they
right.
honestly, to get that height right because it's a screw, they fiddle with it hard because they're turning it. They only can
Mhm.
come down so far with the button, and then they got to start screwing on them to get the height to work. So depending on, and especially for us, we're higher on the bipod and we're in a workspace. So now you're
Mhm.
dealing with a lot more with the monopod versus if somebody had a Harris slammed all the way down and the guy's laying on his rifle, then that short monopod is a lot closer to the ground and it works a little easier. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've like I said, I think the monopod is a it's kind of can go either way.
Yeah, I'd be curious if somebody thinks they could keep up. Let's say it's a 3-0 work. I mean, I'm not gonna. The tactical rifleman, that stuff is all self-defense and tactical related videos, so that's a different context than a precision rifle match.
Right, right.
But I'd be curious if he thinks he could keep under an MOA, or if he can keep under 3 or 4 tenths. I'd put together a 308 and go shoot side by side to see if that's true. But like that's the kind of thing that I'd have to see in person to see how he adjusts the use of that, because you couldn't spin it. You would have to use it with your hand to change the elevation under time. And but if they're shooting at a 20 MOA target for speed, like, yeah, I mean, you probably don't need anything. And in terms of a
No.
handle, it's on the end of the buttstock. Like you already have a handle and you have the fore end of the rifle. I don't think you need a handle. So if it's just a handle for your hand to squeeze for elevation, yeah, that's not going to be consistent.
Yeah,
10
I don't.
shots, 10 build and break shots prone, I doubt it'll be as good of a group as using a
A
bag.
bag, yeah, because like I said, the bag is recoiling, and now your hand that's holding it and keeping it where it needs to be becomes part of the recoil system, and you're never going to be consistent with that other hand because or it's going to take a lot of new practice to build a new memory, so you're not interrupting the recoil some way with that
Yeah, yeah, but
backhand.
I'd like to see it. If somebody can do it, that'd be
Hmm.
awesome. I just need to see it in person. And I'll shoot the same platform next to him and see, like, okay, this is how it compares to me. Maybe it's good
Right,
or maybe
right.
it's not, um,
And then, but
but I
yeah, we
think
were,
that's
you know,
interesting.
it is. It is. I mean, honestly, there's so many ways to think outside of the box versus, and then, look where we came from with the working guns and that, we're talking to James Anthony there from Rifles Only. He was original OG from there. And then you look at as it progressed to, like the what do you call it? The MPA with the block system, and then it goes to the Ingenuity Gunworks with the wedge system. Then it goes to the Game Changer with the bags and the blocks and the wedges, which would be sort of that hard stop, got replaced with the bag, which allows the recoil to flow. Is
Mhm.
at least how I see it. My nose is itchy,
Yeah.
and
But also now we're kind of going back to less is more in terms of gear, and it's more just a better built, better balanced, better fundamentally capable shooter.
yes.
And advancements are increasing faster now, focusing on fundamentals.
Well, the stock. It was the stock combined with the lighter triggers, but the stock really changed it going to the flat bottom stocks in the way we do the stocks now that ride on a bag themselves. I think the stock changed everything because if I go in and start grabbing even a McMillan A5, I got Terry Cross's rifle in here right behind me, his Sentinel. If we go to all my legacy fiberglass stocks, none of them were going to ride anything correctly because even then the stocks had taper in them to give you an elevation change as you slid forward and back. You know, you look at the Manners in the McMillans, like the A3s, you know, are short in the front and then start to go wider. So as you slide the rifle, you're changing elevation. And those early stocks were designed to change elevation depending on where you sat it, you know. And so that was I like flat triggers. I'm fine with a curve, but I like flat better. He's asking flat or curved,
Mm.
Chris.
Yeah, I
Um,
like flat.
Me too. I like
Uh,
flat.
I like I like it right because if you're consistent, it's just a flat surface that you're pushing on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a curved one could be okay, I guess. You just like trigger press is something that somebody either needs to be standing beside you to watch because you're not going to feel what's actually happening
No,
proprioceptively. I think that people don't really get what influence they've got on the trigger. And somebody
they're
watching you, you could
off.
say, "No, I was watching this and you were doing this." And they say, "No, I was pushing straight." Yeah, but you're like, "No, you're straight left," or they're
Yeah.
flicking. And because of that bang, they don't know what's happening.
Curve triggers, people are either high or they go all the way down and they ride the tip with almost their finger on the trigger. I've seen it, their finger, because we do the eval and the trick, you know, we're doing the trigger control before I say anything. Most people with the curved trigger are unnaturally high in the shoe and they're pulling up a lot. Or if they know they need to be lower for the leverage, I see them on the point of the tip, not in the shoe, on the point to where they almost ride the trigger guard with the bottom of their finger. And I've
Yeah,
seen that.
it's crazy.
Yes. And so no, the
I guess
curved ones.
that would force you straight back, but I bet you would get off right and
Yeah,
left.
yeah. Well, and there's
Yeah.
always somebody pushing because one, if you don't choke up, I keep moving. If you don't choke up your finger, and they're like, I have it somewhere. Let me see.
Hmm.
Um, so what they do, Chris, and I have them in here now. So if you look at my eval sheet with their finger position, I have swept, lazy, and 90. And what it is where their hand is, and they could be in swept, they could be lazy 90, or they're 90. And so their fingers aren't in the same place. And as well, the curve does not fit every, because Andrew's asking, doesn't the curve put your finger in the same place every time? No, because our fingers don't fit the curve right. You know what I mean? So everybody's fingers different. And then the other thing I do, the big one, is they dance on the shoe. They're dancing. They move their finger all over and they're trying to figure out where they want their finger. So they're constantly pumping the shoe, dancing on it. I call it dancing. They dance on the shoe. And that's why Mark's terminology to that point is marry to the trigger, because they have to marry up to it because they dance. And they'll move all over, then they'll bang, and but they'll either swept or load or whatever. But you know, that's I think the flat as well, I think is better.
Yeah, yeah. And I've noticed in the past, right, like what you're talking about is you put your finger in the curved trigger, but are you pulling up there or down here? If it's in it, you 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 don't really know which way you're pulling other than you're in it, and you can be off on the axis. And that's where like sometimes the trigger stuff could be really tricky, but you have to have somebody and normally it's you watching and you've seen it so much, you could say, "Oh, I saw that." And it's hard for me to sit beside and watch somebody's trigger because I'm watching other stuff. But when I have watched, I don't quite catch, but you're able to see it once and go, "This is exactly what you're doing, and this is where it would go." Um, what I noticed with the trigger hand is that sometimes if it's a right-handed shooter and the shots are going to the right, and we're like, man, where's that coming from? It's because they're squeezing with their hand and they're
Mm-hmm.
pushing in with their palm, and the gun comes off
And
their
then
whole
pushes the
trigger hand.
barrel
So we
the other
say,
way, right?
yeah, and we say, well, if that's the case, just get behind it and just use your finger for a second and shoot, and then all of a sudden it's good. And it's like, okay, cool. Like those big gross things I can catch. Like, okay, well, it's coming off your palm, and you would think like if their hands in there, but people are too strong and that's too subtle of a movement. But with the trigger stuff, man, if you're not 90 degrees, there's going to be inconsistency.
And
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 if
what we
there's
do, let me see if I can find it. I can use this. So what I do, and so you're on the finger here. I can kind of go right here. So you're on the trigger, and what we want is a straight back push. But what we'll see is guys crushing their finger points back to 7 o'clock. So the right handed guy crushes the trigger, and we watch their fingernail turn white and point backwards. And so there, then you can start to see. So we want the fingernail to be perpendicular to the travel of the bullet, and it needs to start at 9 o'clock and stop at 9 o'clock. That's where the imperceivable press comes in. If you're a lefty, 3 o'clock, but you don't want that nail to turn back towards 7 o'clock, because it's got to be 90, not 7. And so we see so much because we're in your space, with the fundamental eval. And when we're looking at you, we're looking at the shooter where their head and trigger is. And we see
Mhm.
all of that stuff. They do triggers the main culprit. They do so much. Um, Most people new don't do the same thing twice.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I'll even see them. And you know what I'm noticing a lot with now, Chris? And even this last class had a whole shitload of them that you were in Fort Morgan. Joints. They're all at the joints now. So we're
Mhm.
getting back to people going back to the joint, and I don't know if that's coming out of GWAT with the Gorilla Grip on the M4, but we're seeing a lot more people show up to class with their finger buried to the joint and their finger in like that, like that, hooked into the joint and pulling it. So I notice a lot more joint shooters are showing up to the first day of class versus
Yeah,
pad.
I have seen that. And then that guy that came to the clinic that improved his shooting, it was I had said like, pull it out of your finger and use
The
your
pad, right?
pad and just see what happens. Oh, that feels weird. Like, I get it, it's gonna feel weird, but just, come out, get 90 degrees, and let's just see it come straight back.
Yeah,
And that was
no,
part of that process of coming together.
no, we're not rapping anymore. I was like I was there. James, he had just left. We were doing a ranger class, first ranger, and Jacob did the demo at floating the thumb. I still have the receipt from the original picture I took when we were doing it because I recognized it as something different. And so I resisted floating my thumb for a long time because I'm smaller and I was going to wrap my thumb anyway to pick the rifle up because I always had to have my thumb to move because I needed that control and I needed that leverage for me being smaller. And then I started floating it and looking at things more. I noticed a wiggle like at 800, and that convinced me to strictly float. And really, the main thing is getting a shelf that I like. So I'll float it, and I don't have a problem floating it, but I'm happier with the shelf that I like if I can get a shelf. So like a
Yeah.
comfy shelf to me makes a little difference. Like the AI, the Terminus, the AI chassis I have, the team guys gave me that AI trigger shelf for the
Hmm.
ATX chassis, and then my
Yeah.
terminuses are on that. I really like that shelf and where that puts my hand, versus some of the other places I will float my thumb. And if you notice, if I don't have a like a good shelf to float my thumb will want to go sideways across the top if I'm not down at the bottom. So, like, if my thumb is not riding along, I want a shelf or something to put it on. And if I don't have that, I'll often put it on the stock up at the top. But as I'm shooting, I'll notice it'll migrate to across the stock like that and not stay like this. So if
Because
I
it's so
don't,
hard to manage all that stuff. You
yes,
need index points,
right. And if
and
I,
that'll make a difference if you're moving it.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yeah. I see it all because I see it in the videos too, and I go, "Fuck, should I edit that video?" And it's like, "Ah, I hit the plate. Who cares?" But I see that if I don't have an index point for my thumb and I don't have a place on the chassis that really lets me, index my thumb comfortably, and then I put it in my old school position, my old school float across the top will eventually migrate like that and my thumb will be sideways.
Yeah.
If I don't pay
I
attention to
think
it.
I'd do the same thing. I think, I think naturally, if you haven't thought through something consciously, parts that your mind isn't in, they're naturally gonna kind of wiggle, and you'll see, like if somebody's talking in front of a crowd and they're uncomfortable, their legs are moving and their fingers are twitching and fiddling because
Mhm.
their mind's not in it. And shooting, even subtly, if your thumb is you're thinking about something else, so your thumb's kind of just doing its own thing, kind of like August, like
Yeah, yeah.
thumb, behave
Well, and
yourself,
that's just
thumb.
it. Andrew's kind of bringing up a point about the musical note. So everything you do, I mean, we because if this was, hidereloaders.com and we're talking reloading, we'd have endless conversation about barrel harmonics and finding accuracy nodes and our timing nodes. And they'd be talking, we'd have a 30-minute conversation about our barrel whip. But what they don't tell you is that metal barrel is threaded into a metal action, which then has metal pins to a metal trigger going to your trigger shoe. All of it is connected. And so pressing that trigger is actuating a trumpet, playing a musical note. And if you're moving during the harmonic resonance of firing that rifle, you're changing the note.
Mhm,
And that's what's going on. That's why we say press, break, freeze,
mhm,
imperceivable press, pat of the finger, do this. Why follow through? Right? I mean, if you got a zippy little 6 millimeter with a 4-ounce trigger, does follow through really hurt you? Maybe not. But if you're off that trigger because you're basing it on the firing pin drop and the sound of the primer getting hit, you can still beat the bullet out of the barrel because you're probably 24, 26 inches in that. That's time. And there's time in the system. So the musical note you're playing during that shot, you have to recognize time in the system. We key off the firing pin and the firing pin hitting the primer. Well, the primer still is going to flash and blow spark into the case. The case has to, or the flash and spark then has to ignite the powder. The powder is going to burn at a rate. I can't pull a bullet out by hand. I need pliers. Well, once that builds up enough pressure, it's going to push the bullet out. The bullet's going to move forward, connect to the lands and grooves, and start going down the barrel, picking up its rotations, pop out the end like a champagne cork. That takes time. And if the bolt action rifle is 4 milliseconds on the firing pin and a semi is 8 to 12 milliseconds on a firing pin, we know guys who can't shoot a semi worth of shit. It's because they're moving. And what it is that firing or that hammer releases, moves forward, then hits the firing pin. Then the firing pin moves forward and starts the process of loading and unloading that gun. Depending on how long that semi automatic's gas port is in the barrel system, gas moves 5 times faster than the bullet. So if there's barrel after the gas port, it needs 5 times shorter distance, otherwise things start to move. And that's why semi versus bolt action, it's time. And then we got to get into the interdimensional creatures. We did talk about it a little bit earlier there, D. You got your 110 people on, Chris. The 100 there. It just took a minute for everybody to finish dinner, and,
Oh.
and so they're
Well,
all here.
it's like, in some movies that like they'll show a sniper. I got all these movie clips that because when I'm watching and they're shooting stuff, I always pull out my phone and video like the shooting because something's going to be ridiculous. But it's like it'll be like duh, 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 duh. But we should have it go like time slows down and you hear the firing pin before.
Yeah.
Boom! Like, oh, I've meditated. I've slowed down time to the point where
And that's where the
I have
interdimensional
infinite
creatures come
time.
in that we're battling. We have to slow everything down in our mind. I don't want to say John Wick, it's more Wanted. What's that guy's name? The split guy? I just watched him. McAvoy? James McAvoy. I just watched him in X-Men Apocalypse. He played Professor X. He was in Wanted with Angelina Jolie. He has to slow time down to shoot the wings off the fly. And that's how we slow time down to get the interdimensional aliens.
Right, we're gonna recruit people and be like,
You.
they can hear the firing pin.
Right, right. Well, and
Stand in the
Andrew's
blue
asking a
line.
question. Like he says, you can get the same caliber in a gas gun. Why wouldn't you? I always see you with a bolt gun. He's laughing. Dude, I lived with a gas gun because the majority of classes at rifles only were the military. I lived with a Mark 11. I have my Knights. I have them. I just haven't been shooting them as often as I used to because I lived with them. I did all the friggin' energy classes, Mark 11s. I did all the Ranger classes, Mark 11s. I did SF, Mark 11s. I did SEALs, Mark 11s. Everybody had Mark 11s. So I had to dance with a semi auto. So we lived on semi autos for so long. Um, and I have quarter-minute semi autos here. No
Andrew,
problem.
all of my best 10-shot targets are with gas guns.
Yeah.
I can shoot gas guns probably better than my bolt guns. They just don't have the ballistic properties to be competitive after, 700 yards, 800 yards. So there's just that little distance deficit. But otherwise, gas guns, awesome if you can run them. But I still can't believe that, of the targets that I save of my best 10-shot groups, they're all gas guns. Like, why in the
Mm-hmm.
world is it gas gun? But
Consistent in its trigger. And
yeah.
I actually, after my first shot, I shoot a gas gun backwards because I'm resetting and firing really quick. So I'll hold the trigger to the rear if I'm not shooting, a cadence, but I'll hold it to the rear, and then when I transition to the next target, I'm just click bang, and then I hold it to the rear, and then I get to the next target, and then I go click bang, and I just do that. Um,
I
yeah, the
don't
best.
hear it, Bronwolf. I mean, he's saying that physiologically, our brain registers the firing pin before the boom, but I'm not conscious of it. No, I mean,
No, no, we're
conceptually I
being
am, but
silly. But no.
yeah.
What we're saying is we recognize time in the system. We understand the time that it takes for that firing pin to hit the primer, and that the initial sound our brain keys off of. That's why dry fire works. Dry fire works, and why you can inoculate yourself from a first round flinch that some people have is through dry fire, because dry fire of that drop of the firing pin is enough to trick the brain into saying, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. Because the brain hates the idea of a controlled explosion 3 inches in front of your nose. That's why people flinch. And how do you stop people from flinching? Well, you could dry fire them or you could double ear them. Why does double earing fix a flinch? Because they key off sound. And so that's some of the tips and tricks we use to do that. Yeah, me too. I mean, one, the Showman resonance is friggin' screaming right now. My left ear never stops ringing, and on bad days, my right ear will give me a little taste of it. but my left ear never stops ringing. So, I have it ring 24/7. And so
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's also something that you could feel too. So if you were saying that it's the cue of subconsciously, we probably do cue off of that, even though we're not aware of it, because our brains and bodies react to things on a much faster level. But I'm sure that you feel it too, because if you couldn't hear anything, you could still feel a firing pin, just like you can feel when
Yes,
you
on a
close a
dry
bolt
fire.
and there's not a round on it, or if a carrier doesn't pick up a round and you shoot enough, you could feel that. You don't have to look.
The target, I'll hold if the target's big enough. If I want, I put it this way: nobody's ever won that I've ever heard of, because I don't want to throw a blanket. Nobody's I've ever heard of has won an F class match using a Horus holding it. I've never heard of an F.
That would be fucking hilarious. Oh
Right?
my God. There's so much crap in the damn reticles. Like you
Yes.
can't see anything doing
And
that.
and
Like,
they always hold the wrong line under time. It's you can't see, and they vapor lock. That's see the thing is when they were originally teaching these guys the Horus and they were going to Texas, they're on a mesa and shooting down into the desert. So they're elevated, shooting down to learn the Horus in the desert. So absolutely positively dirt flies in the air and you see a big giant plume of dirt. Well, as soon as those guys leave Texas and try to employ that reticle, the first time they don't see that giant plume of dirt, um, they freeze. And um he they freeze up because they're expecting a reaction. Same thing with
mhm.
woods, if it rains, any and when people are saying I trained on shoot, miss, see it correct. Shoot, miss, see it correct. Now they shoot, miss, see nothing, freeze up. And it used to have to tell them as soon as you shoot and miss and see nothing, do something different because they didn't know enough to do something different. And so that was part of it.
Yeah, yeah. If I could, man, I do wish I could just easily just make reticles and put them in my rifle scopes, but it would be messed up. It wouldn't be something that people would actually appreciate, but I would love it. I I have that loophole, and I have seen more with that. It's it looks like this, and it has
Yeah.
an illuminated dot in the
Dot in the
center,
middle. Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's illuminated. So you turn on it, it's a red illuminated dot. And when I shoot with that, it's like a completely new experience. You can see everything. And then I
Mhm.
get like the PR2 in the loopholes is probably the next least busy reticle,
I like
and
the
you can see a
PR2.
lot with that. But the
Um
less there is there, the only issue with those is that how do you mill other stuff? And so occasionally I put, little sketches, but I keep coming up with um I keep coming up with something almost like a scope, like a spotting scope, where
mhm.
you've got your little reticle and then maybe just a couple 2/10 marks in directions that's not going to obscure it, but if you need to, you could just move it really quick to mill it,
Mhm.
but
Jacob
maybe
wanted that.
have two of them horizontal and two of them vertical, or maybe have just L's around it, maybe like 3 mils off, as a square around it. Like, but that's all you really need if you're in. I understand people want a reticle range, even though that's not super practical anymore. But you need a way to mill small area. Like, was that 2/10 or 3/10, or was that? And
Mhm.
if there was just a subtle way that wouldn't be distracting, just having dots and an aim point, man, I think people's precision would go way up. But they would have to be dialing wind too. But
Yeah,
you can get
yeah,
fast at dialing wind. The best precision matches I've had, um, like when I won the brawl, I dialed elevation and I dialed wind.
yeah. So we got a question that'll go into your times of flight. So, Prone Wolf here is talking about testing his first hand loads at 1,000 yards. He's got an inch wide group for 8 shots, but he's got a 12-inch tall group at a thousand
Oh, that's
yards.
SD. That's
Yeah,
probably, I mean,
and he's got a
well, I
SD of
can't say
11.
it's,
It's for SD of
oh,
11.
oh, well, then it's not his SD. That's, well, it depends how fast it's going, right? Because
Right,
if you're
speed.
shooting like subsonics or you're close to that, it's going to slow down a lot anyway.
You
Because it's going
need
to
to
slow down
know.
faster.
Right, you need to be over 1,300 feet per second at 1,000 yards, and that should basically tell you that you have the correct speed. So you want to be right around that 1,300. So you have to look at your speed, Prone, and see what that is. But the SD of 10 and that stuff is going to show up after your 1 second, 1.2 second time of flight. So you need to look at from your dope in your ballistic calculator or something what your time of flight is at 1,000 yards and see how long it's taken to get there, or look at what your muzzle velocity is at the 1,000 yards and try to get it right around that 1,300. You know,
But if you're getting vertical, I would look at what you're doing to the rifle to cause that vertical deflection. And it could come back to what Frank and I are talking about. If your face is inconsistently weighting the buttstock, you're going to have vertical. If you're not consistently bridging and you're squeezing the bag up and down, you're going to
yeah,
have vertical. If you're doing both, if your scope's not high enough so that you're smashing down on your face and you're squeezing your bag, every shot's going to be in that vertical plane and you won't be able to be consistent.
he's
Um,
pretty slow. He's 2640 to 2680.
Pretty slow.
Yeah, what caliber is that?
By the
Because
time it gets to 1,000, that's going to be really slow.
that's super slow. You're probably right at 1,200, maybe coming into the 11s. That's slow. So at 1,000 yards, you're probably with that load. It's probably an 800
Let me
yard
put,
accuracy in your thousand. Now your Wes is off.
yeah, let me look at this really quick.
But yeah, because I think you're just a little slow while you're seeing the vertical, unless it's part of your fundamentals, like Chris was mentioning. But I would bet the speed is contributing to that because it's pretty slow.
Yeah, I mean he's going to be right around 1,500 feet per second when he gets to
Yeah, those are
1,000.
those are 6.5s with 140s.
Oh, it's going to be slower than that. It's going to
Yeah,
slow down more.
yeah. He's using 6.5. Like that speed you're looking at, your 2640. That's what they're shooting the 153s out here with. Your muzzle velocity there, they're doing that speed with a 150 class bullet in a 6.5. And with the 140s, you got to at least be 2750. 28 is the sweet spot. The sweet spot for all of us is 2850. And then it's, nodes from there. 2750 is another node. 2600's a node, or 2650, 2550. There's nodes in those 50s.
Yeah,
2850,
he's at 1490 at 1,000.
you think he's that fast? I think he's slower than that.
Maybe.
I,
What's the
I
BC of that?
It's a burger, so it'll be pretty good. I can look. I might have a 140 that I can change into something.
I'm gonna
Um,
put it in this AB thing
yeah, I got
for
the
time of flight.
Let me see here. I got a
Burger
yeah. Let's see here.
140 hybrid.
Here's my TAC Ops is a 143. That's pretty slow. That's only 2750. Let me see what it's saying is
But he's at 26 something.
yeah, it is
Where's
saying
his speed?
1400, but it is 8.5. That seems weird that 14 is 8.5 and it's unpredictable like that. Cuz at 8.7, 8.5 at 1400, he might be 14. Yeah,
But that's still really slow.
it is
I
slow.
think it's a fundamental thing then. And I bet it's the bag in the head.
Yeah, you want to be 2750 with that load at least, not 2650. Like I said, they're doing the 153s about 2650 out here, and they're floating them like that and using the BC and the weight to carry the day. And then yeah, the
My
2770.
factory, my factory 156 or 2600. Like
Yes,
that's
yeah.
faster. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That 2770 will probably be fine. If you could do 2850 without beating up your brass, that's a good speed right there. But 2770 will be a good, comfortable zone for a 140 class bullet. But the 2850, it'll be magic. It'll change the bullet for you. To go from
So
2650, even 27 to 2850 with that bullet would be a new. It'll feel like a new gun for you, although you'll have a little more recoil and you probably beat up your brass a bit. I think to be
this says
comfort.
1000 is 1375. I mean that's really slow at that distance. I think um the time of flight is 1.6 seconds too. So you're like that's
Which
pretty far for them.
Right?
Yeah.
That feels so weird from 1375 to be 1.6 time of flight, doesn't it? Doesn't that seem
Hmm.
off to you? Because my gun,
It's
my
really slow.
yeah, my app says 14 as well. And yeah, you don't want to. Like I said, if you can go 2800 even or that 2770, I think that's a comfortable place for you at a 140. The 2850 is gonna beat your brass up. The 2770 will give you a good results,
Hmm.
you know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, in Alaska, it's cold there, man. So, you actually can go a little hotter if you wanted to, but I would just do the 2770. Go make it like 2800 even. If you have a spot in between that's accurate for you, 2800 even is more than enough. But if you said you had a node you like that 2770, in Alaska's cold, you have very heavy air. So that's why
Yeah.
you need so much um elevation to get there cuz you're in Alaska. So for
But
sure.
this at the finale, I shot 147 factory Hornadies, and they're 2752. Those
Right.
actually oddly had a SD of 9. Um, but there's no way it was 12 inches of vertical. I mean, that shot really good. Uh, yeah, it's your bag in your head is my hunch.
Mhm. Yeah, most likely. It's all I mean, there's so much influences what we're doing and how we're doing it and, all those things and so,
Hmm.
you know,
Totally, totally.
totally, totally. But
So
we got an
let's
what's
see.
up?
It's
Yeah, it's almost time.
9:20. I wait. I have things going on here. First of all, um, we have you have a clinic coming up Friday, Saturday. Friday, Saturday. What time are you going out Saturday?
Um I think I'm going live at 10, but
Okay,
I'm
10
doing
a.m.
I have the live webinar on the hide on Friday night. I'm doing the class on Friday night. That'll be here. And then on Saturday I'm taking this to the range and I'm going to be doing this live at the range as a part 2. So if you go to the Hide TV, I'll be doing an online clinic Friday, Saturday um through the internet, so webinar. And because of this system, I will be live with a firearm and I'll be able to talk to you, demo, do the different things. However, I will only be on Hide TV and it is a paid webinar. We're testing the system out. We're making sure it's all good. And because I'm going live with rifles, well, if Chris is here, he can come in on Saturday if he wants to come out Saturday and be in it. He can be. But I was doing this just to test everything and to check because what they did is Hide TV. They added a service for me, and I can go online direct, and I won't need any other. Which I don't need anything, but I'm gonna be able to go online direct through the Hide. We're making sure I can't be censored with a firearm. So any of these social media platforms, you can't go live with a firearm. Mine, you can. And so I'm putting it all together and making sure I can remotely bring you, and I have Starlink. I can remotely bring you this, the lessons, and then talk to you from the range while I'm shooting, demoing, discussing, and I'll go over this, and then I'll be live to be able to talk to you as I do it. But I'm going to be doing the classroom portion like this here on
Yeah.
Friday.
But I think that's awesome. And with this number of people watching, sometimes we have double this, but I do think it's worth just letting you guys know you're watching this. There's going to be more and more of these, and if you're not registered and watching through Hide TV, it's a good idea because some of these things we're going to talk about one day, and the next day we're going to go to the range and demo it, so that then you could take all that and do it yourself, and it's remote, so you don't have to fly out to a class. Um, I think that's a
Uh,
huge
yeah.
value to Sniper's Hide,
Uh,
and being
two,
able to do that is awesome.
2 hours at night and 2 hours at the range at least. So I mean, the PowerPoint won't quite take me that long to go through. I'm going to be doing my fundamentals. I'm going to do setting up the rifle, and then I'm going to talk some tripod fundamentals. That's the first sort of 30 or so slides in my normal presentation. So I'm going to do those. This, like sort of down in the studio, I guess, or in a studio. And then the next day I'll go to the range and we'll do that at the range. So it'll be roughly 2 hours each time. So 4 hours worth of instruction. If Chris comes out Saturday, that should be no problem. I don't know if he's around. But if he is,
Yeah, the guy who took over for Colin at the Laramie Rifle Rodeo said, "Hey, we've got, 56 shooters. Maybe you can come out and talk to the shooters after the match to advertise for clinics and classes and stuff." And then Guardians going on. So I feel like, oh my gosh, like there's so much happening Saturday. I could come out Saturday and just be a part of. Well, I mean, that's probably more important to see than it is to drive up to Laramie, only because the time is going to be really tight. Um, but I'm thinking about doing an in-person clinic Sunday. Problem is, it's short notice, and so if anybody is local and wants a clinic on Sunday, let me know, and I could probably put one together. I have one guy who will come for sure, but I'd prefer to have 5 or 6 people. So if somebody wants an in-person clinic Sunday, but I want to do this stuff with Frank online regularly because I think it's an awesome way to do it. Saves a lot of people money because you get class stuff and questions, and then you get to see it for clarity and see how it
yeah.
works.
And really, I want to see where the price pressure point is. I do think the online training um is sort of a future thing that's going to see more and more, and so I'm not 100% sure where the price pressure point is for that. I made it $99 for each day. If you didn't want to do both, you don't have to. Like if you watch the first day and you go, this guy sucks, you don't do the second day. But I made each one as its own lesson. So the first one is 99 bucks. The second one will be 99 bucks. So I don't know where the pressure points are, and I don't know, because like an in-person class with Chris and I, that's $1,200 easily, and so it's not inexpensive, and travel is so much more expensive. Even like Prone was talking about going to Alaska, that it's super expensive to go to Alaska now, and so we don't make as much money because the airlines jacked up the price. It's a whole, the hotels are more expensive. Even when I travel, you went from
Right.
an $80 hotel to a $110 hotel. Now it's 160 a night for a Holiday Inn Express.
But I
The
would have
most
thought like people would see that immediately that the online stuff is more, but like craft wind, there's just not a better class for wind, and I would have guessed there'd be hundreds more people signed up. So we got to
well,
just
but it's
push
got to
the
be, yeah, it's got to be
availability.
advertised more because, while the site has a lot of movement, a lot of that movement is focused around the buying and selling. and so I don't have as many people, everybody's gear oriented. So you
Hmm.
don't see as many as the training people there because there's I don't understand what the meat on the because you could see it, I guess. I don't know what the meat on the bone for Saturday is other than I'm gonna be there and talk to you, and then you can Q&A with me, I guess, while I'm shooting.
And it helps to see it
It
because you
helps
get
to
to
see
see
it
it
because then the
being
camera
done.
could be there. I
Hmm.
I matter of fact, I just got it came in yesterday. I got a 16-foot cable for the camera, but I
Oh,
also
nice,
have a
nice.
mobile way that I'm going to be able to do the camera as well. So I'm looking at exactly that. How do you bring somebody the meat in the demo and the different things and what I'm doing? But mainly it's to show you, I could talk to you like this all day about shooting, press the trigger like that. But unless you see me do it, so that's the
Right,
meat
right.
is the
And then you could
practical
walk
of it.
out to paper and say, look,
Right.
I did this and here's where it went. I did
Right.
this, here's where it went. I did this and they all went here. I
Mhm.
think there's huge value in that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
But
I mean, it's just taking the video stuff, and like I said, and then for me, if once this system I know is working, and I know everything's good, and they've streamlined it, because we spent Friday, I went live here probably like 6 times on Friday, but deleted all of them. We're testing the systems, and I have tools that allow me to bring things live, like with Tim Parkhurst with the Scout Sniper Association. He was at the VFW conference. Wednesday, we went live and brought him right into the system because for other people, it's a single persistent link to be on here. Like Chris uses the same link. It says the high TV, blah 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 blah. Come talk to us. And so it's putting all
mhm.
these things in place. So if somebody said, hey, I don't quite understand, like in this, if Andrew, no, not so far. It's not every Friday, but I'm gonna do it every month. But the thing is if you said during this live on Wednesday, hey, you said something and I don't get it. I can say, okay, Friday, I'm going to go to the range at 10 o'clock and record it live, and that'll stay on the hide. And I don't have to edit a video to put up. I can go live. And the problem today is I can't go live on YouTube with a gun. I can't go live on Facebook with a gun and show you what you're asking me. I can on Sniper's Hide. So if you say, hey, let me see this, I don't have to make you a produced video, which takes me roughly 4 hours at the range and 4 hours home to record it. Instead, I can go to the range, film it live, and leave it on the hide as it is, because you can go back to Hide TV right now. All these lives are up there. And so it'll be there. And I could say, hey, Andrew asked me a question Wednesday night. Here's what he wanted. And I can do
Mhm.
it live and just walk away. You know what I mean? So it makes life easier. I could bring a gas gun. I'll bring a gas gun for you.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that's valuable too, because then we could just
Yes,
say, look, we're not just saying that we can do it,
I could
but
do it.
we have
Right.
to do it on Sniper's Hide platform because YouTube won't let us do it live.
Hmm.
And there's something cool. And we do it all the time. So it's not like it's like, oh, we got to do this. Like, fuck yeah, of course we
We
will.
go to the
Like
range
shit, in
three
the
days a
middle of
week.
class,
Yeah.
yeah, in the middle of class, Frank will say, Chris, do a wind demo. Walk out there, make a wind call, and shoot a target. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Well,
okay,
like
like
talk to him
no
for two
problem.
minutes. I'm gonna go downstairs and grab something real quick. Talk to him for like 2 minutes.
Okay. I think that there's huge credibility in being able to just, oh, you've said this before, let's see it. Fine. Like I'm more than happy to show you. And doing it live is fun. We're going out at the range, we can answer your questions live. I think that's really good. So I think that that is something. But, with the sniper's hide stuff and with the rifle craft, the reason I brought this up is we're trying to grow classes and introduce people to new things. And craft wind is up, but that's the only rifle craft real class that I've got launched so far. we don't have time to talk about other ones other than I'm going to put out an NRL Hunter one that's very specific for individuals and then for teams. And I do coaching, but I haven't had a cohort of people for the last 3 months. And so I'm putting together a group um, now that I'm hoping to start in September and run through December. So that'll be 4 months, but it can't be that many people. So if somebody's looking for something very specific like that, those
And
people have always done really well, but it is time consuming. And so I need a group and they stay as a group for the whole, that 4 month block. And then you do your homework and stuff like that. But you'd have to message me about that. But the rifle craft, sniper's hide clinics that are on um, one evening we talk about theory, and then the next day it's show me on the doll, and it's like, hey Frank, take a shot. Okay,
mhm.
just take a shot. Bang. Do you see that? And then if people are like, I didn't see it, we'll bring the camera closer. Do you see how my trigger does this? Do you see how my sight picture does this? A lot of times it just takes seeing it and you go, oh, I see what you mean.
Right.
And then
Like the
if you video
bridge.
yourself, yeah,
Right. But yeah, so here's the setup. I can do this right here. This little bitty camera in this attachment, I can go live anywhere I want. And this will beam out, project, and especially with Starlink, all I have to do is drop my Starlink on the ground. And in fact, I just got a second battery coming. I have those Ravion batteries that plug right in, and I just ordered a second one. All I have to do is drop the Starlink on the ground or wherever I'm at. And Chris uses the 737. He's
I don't
asking
know what
about.
Laura means about quite with the asterisks.
Oh, she meant quite feminine. She said um your bedroom got feminine.
Oh yeah, it is. Look at my toenails. They're not blue anymore.
Oh, they're black. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah. So seven. I'm not a fan of a 737. I can care less, and I mean it made it better with a 75-degree bolt. But Chris likes a 737.
I have a
It.
737 and I have a left-handed 737. I think they're good. I like AIs. I like 737s. I mean, and I like Seekins and I like all the
Mm-hmm.
rifle. Any rifle we shoot, I like because we don't keep stuff we don't like. And there's a lot of really good. The Terminus is good. The Impact Seekins.
Mm-hmm. Wait till Seekins' new shit comes in. We got in 4 weeks. We're gonna wait. I gotta show you the video, Chris. You were gone. He sent me a complete rifle video, or did I send it to you?
I saw the breakdown of the components
Yeah, yeah. But he
with
sent
the
me a
pin.
complete. He sent me a complete rifle picture.
Oh man,
So
I'm
yeah,
excited to
it's.
see that. Yeah.
He says.
My
He says.
SP10 is fucking like shit. Andrew, you want to see a good like a large frame gas gun? The SP10 is really good.
Yeah,
And I'm going to
SB10s
be
rock.
testing a Knights, and we have Frank's Knights,
I have a Knights.
so we can compare those two because I got two uppers to as T and E from Knights, so we'll be doing videos on those uppers. Uh, there'll be content from the gas gun, but we also have to have clinics and classes going on too. We can't just show people other people's guns and be able to
Yeah, we
feed
gotta. We
ourselves and
gotta.
stuff.
Like I said, part of the system is to, at least for me personally, is to back off the in-person classes other than, where I'm at.
Mhm.
I'm, I can make a phone call. I want a Geisley. I want a Geisley 6 arc, and I can make a phone call, and I think I've been waiting because I know somebody over there, but just because of the arc, I want a Geisley. And so I might do one. But anyway, I have my JP I can bring in the Valkyrie. I can throw Valkyrie through it and see how it does. But anyway, yeah, what the goal is to use the online tools that High TV is bringing. Like if you go to High TV now, it's been changed um, like insane. And it's got discussions. You can make comments on the videos and everything now. High TV has been growing every week, and we're seeing a lot new tools and a lot of different stuff. So we want to use that to not only reach more people, but then to save people some money as well. Um, what does it
Yeah, if
come
you're
to?
spending $800 on airfare and then another $800 on a hotel and a rental car, like you don't have to spend any of that.
Right.
Like,
Right. And the
mm,
thing is if we can, couple days or even once a week if there's a lesson, we get to that once a month for me or something, and then do courses and stuff, and price them reasonably to bring in more people,
yeah.
but
But
at
I
the
think for
same
the rest of the year, like
yeah,
we
winter.
we we just went through like a super busy time, but the end of the summer, like competitions are over. From here, the next 3 or 4 months, like I think we're going to put out a ton of content and hopefully pick up those clinics because we can really invest, and the weather's going to just get better and better and better. There's a lot of opportunity, but we also have to have people coming in and
Yeah,
watching and
coming in.
signing up, and
Right. And that's the thing is oh, I don't even know how much barrels are from Seekins. He's got a great shop, and that place is so big and grown so crazy. And what is it with the
they
Geisley
pump out a
rig
lot
made
of
me want?
stuff though. I'm excited to see that rifle though.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much. I mean, the Seekins. I mean, that kid in our class had the PH3. He
Mhm.
freaking smacked that prairie dog on a third shot at like 700, 800 yards. They're just an
Right.
amazing rifle. Chris shoots the Seekins. I have the Seekins. I have all of them here. He has all of them. They're just
Yeah,
really, really good.
it's going to be my factory rifle for 2026 NRL Hunter, and it shoots amazing. So I'm excited for that to kick off.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I
So
do have to go.
okay, cool.
But
We're right on here. Yep.
we could show all that stuff, and maybe Saturday if I'm out there by 10, or if I get there at 11, I can bring my Seekins and show people factory, depending on what you're showing them. But yeah, yeah. If anybody wants an in-person clinic Sunday, just let me know. May or may not happen, but I'll make it out during your video on Saturday.
I
And
mean, even playing this two-way with someone with a one-on-one, because we could do this live. All you have to
mhm,
do is throw your phone up for
mhm.
someone and log into my system, and then I can watch you shoot and then demonstrate and talk back and forth. I mean, there's a lot that video can do today, and a
Yeah,
lot
that
that
would be
these
so fun.
right, these apps do. Even having you guys submit us a video of you shooting, we can then go
Mhm.
live and discuss it that way. You know what I mean? So you guys can bring me, if you got to log off, Chris, you can. I could just wrap up and finish.
But I think
But
that's a great idea. If
right.
somebody sent us a stage, or somebody sent us a video of them doing something 3 or 4 times, we could slow it down and scrub it and
Mhm.
break it down like crazy if the video was right.
Right. Exactly. And then we can address these things, even like a stage, like, "Hey, I did a stage. It was this. Read it to us." I could recreate it at the range. And then
Exactly.
go, how did you attack it? Okay, we could do this, we could do that. But the thing is, I could do it all on the hide with a live rifle. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to get censored. The whole goal for me building this system and working these lives and going through just even some of the growing pains is to create a system that could bring you the information, the shooting, and all this stuff without any fear of censorship, because
Mhm.
that's the main thing. Is because as soon as you even touch a firearm with YouTube on a live, they're cutting the feed. Well, and I get it, but at the same time, that doesn't help us. So, but thanks everybody. We're
Yeah.
gonna jump out. I really appreciate you all, and we'll talk to you more Friday night. I'm gonna be live, but like I said, it'll be the webinar, and I'll be doing the lessons on Friday, and then Saturday I'll be at the range bringing part two, and then we'll go from there. So, you know, but definitely, and like I said, we love it. It's fun. We do this for a living, and so not a problem for you guys. We're all about answering the
Yeah.
questions and talking to you all. So tell your
And if you
friends, bring
want
them on.
anything in particular, yeah, just
Yeah,
message
reach
us,
out to us,
email,
man. Reach out
message
to
on
us,
social media, say,
PM
hey,
us, all that. Bobby, have a good one. Andrew, Prone, all you guys, say hi to Alaska up there. Cheers, everybody. Talk to you soon.